The morning of June 14th, 2147 started like any other day. The sun rose over the cities of Earth. People went to work. Children went to school. Nobody knew that everything was about to change forever. Commander Jack sat in his chair at the United Earth Defense Headquarters in Geneva. He was drinking his third cup of coffee and reading reports from the outer colonies. Nothing unusual, nothing exciting, just another quiet day in space. Then his communicator beeped. "Sir, you need to see this," said Lieutenant Kate. Her voice was shaking. Kate was stationed at the monitoring station near Saturn. She had been watching the stars for 3 years. She never sounded scared, until now. Jack put down his coffee. "What is it, Kate?" "There is something coming through near Titan, a rift in space, and sir, there are ships, hundreds of ships." Jack felt his blood go cold. Humanity had been alone in the universe for as long as anyone could remember. They had found ruins on Mars. They had found dead planets with ancient bones, but they had never found anyone alive. Until now. Within 1 hour, every leader on Earth was watching the same images. The ships were massive. Each one was bigger than anything humans had ever built. They were black and covered with strange symbols. They moved in perfect formation like a swarm of angry insects. Admiral Ben Torres called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. He was an old man with gray hair and tired eyes. He had fought in 3 wars during his life, but he had never faced anything like this. "We need to make contact," he said. "We need to know what they want." The scientists worked fast. They sent messages in every language. They sent pictures of humans. They sent mathematical equations. They sent everything they could think of. The response came 6 hours later. The alien message was simple. It was broadcast on every frequency, in broken human words that some machine had translated badly. "You are weak. You are small. Submit to the Dominion or perish. You have 1 rotation of your planet to decide." 1 day. They had given humanity 1 day to surrender. The world leaders argued. Some wanted to fight, some wanted to surrender, some wanted to run. Admiral Torres listened to all of them. Then he stood up and spoke. "We will not surrender," he said, "but we will not attack first either. We will try to talk to them. We will try to find peace." The diplomats sent more messages. They offered trade. They offered friendship. They offered everything they had. They did not respond. 23 hours and 47 minutes after the first message, the alien fleet opened fire. The first city to burn was 12 million people lived there. They fired a single beam of white light from orbit. When the light faded, there was nothing left but a smoking crater 50 miles wide. Mumbai was next, then Chicago. Jack watched the footage from Geneva. He saw buildings turn to dust. He saw rivers boil away. He saw millions of lives end in seconds. He felt tears running down his face, but he could not look away. "Why?" he whispered. "We did nothing to them. Why are they doing this?" Nobody had an answer. The fleet descended into Earth's atmosphere. Their ships blocked out the sun over every major city. They dropped soldiers onto the ground. The soldiers were tall and thin, with gray skin and 4 arms. They carried weapons that could cut through steel like paper. Earth's military fought back. Fighter jets screamed into the sky. Tanks rolled through the streets. Soldiers fired every weapon they had. It was not enough. They were faster. They were stronger. Their technology was hundreds of years ahead of humanity. Every battle ended the same way. Human soldiers died by the thousands. Soldiers walked over their bodies without stopping. The colonies fell one by one. Mars held out for 3 days. The moon lasted only 6 hours. The mining stations in the asteroid belt surrendered without a fight. Within 2 weeks, they controlled everything. Admiral Torres went into hiding. Most of the world leaders were dead or captured. The great cities of Earth were either destroyed or occupied. They set up bases on every continent. They rounded up humans and put them to work in factories and mines. Jack escaped from Geneva with a small group of soldiers. They made their way through the mountains, hiding during the day and moving at night. They ate whatever they could find. They drank from streams. They did not know where they were going. They only knew they had to survive. One night Jack sat by a small fire and looked up at the stars. Somewhere up there the mothership was waiting. Its commander, a warlord named, was probably celebrating his easy victory. "They think we are finished," Jack said to himself. "They think we will give up." He picked up a rock from the ground and squeezed it in his fist until his knuckles turned white. They are wrong. Across the planet, other survivors were thinking the same thing. In underground bunkers and hidden caves, in forests and deserts and mountains, humans were gathering. They were hurt. They were scared. They were angry. They had made a mistake. They had studied human technology. They had studied human cities. They had studied human governments. But they had not studied human history. They did not know about the wars humanity had fought against itself. They did not know about the empires that had risen and fallen. They did not know that humans had survived ice ages and plagues and disasters that should have killed them all. They did not know that humans never gave up. In a bunker somewhere in the Rocky Mountains, a radio crackled to life. A voice spoke through the static. It was weak and broken, but the words were clear. "This is General Sam Dalton calling all survivors. If you can hear this, do not lose hope. We are not finished. We are just getting started. Find shelter. Find weapons. Find each other. The enemy has won a battle, but the war has only begun." Jack heard the message. He looked at the soldiers around him. They were tired and hungry and scared. But when they heard those words, something changed in their eyes. Hope. The thought they had conquered Earth. They thought the humans would break and bow down. They thought wrong. Humanity was about to remind the galaxy why they had survived for so long, and they were about to learn a lesson they would never forget. You do not attack Earth and walk away. You do not kill billions of humans and expect peace. You do not wake up the fury of a species that has been fighting to survive since the dawn of time. The sky had burned, the cities had fallen, the dead were beyond counting. But Earth was not finished. Earth was angry. And Earth was going to strike back. 6 months had passed since the invasion. The world above was a nightmare. Soldiers walked the streets of every city. Human prisoners worked in mines and factories until they collapsed. Anyone who fought back was killed on the spot. But below the surface, something was growing. General Sam Dalton stood in the command center of the resistance base. It was hidden deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, in tunnels that had been built 100 years ago for a war that never came. Now those tunnels were home to 3,000 survivors. Sam was 52 years old. He had gray in his hair and scars on his face from battles fought long ago. Before the invasion, he had been retired. He had been growing tomatoes in his garden and reading books. Now he was leading the fight for human survival. "Give me the numbers," he said to Captain Laura Finch. Laura was his second in command. She was 35, with short brown hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. Before the invasion, she had been an intelligence officer. Now she was the eyes and ears of the resistance. "We have confirmed contact with resistance cells on every continent," she said. "Europe has about 8,000 fighters. Asia has 12,000. South America has 6,000. Africa has 5,000. Australia has 2,000. And we have around 15,000 here in North America." Sam did the math in his head. About 50,000 fighters against an army of millions. "The odds are not good," Laura admitted. "The odds are never good," Sam said. "That has never stopped us before." He walked to the map on the wall. It showed the entire planet covered with red dots marking bases. There were hundreds of them, maybe thousands. "Tell me about their weakness," he said. Laura pulled up a holographic display. We captured a soldier last month. Our scientists have been studying him. They found something interesting. She pointed to an image of the alien brain. There was a small device attached to it. They are all connected, she explained. Every soldier has this implant. It links them to a central command network. They can share information instantly. They can coordinate perfectly. That is why they fight so well together. Sam stared at the image. And if we disrupt that network? Then they become confused, disorganized, weak. For the first time in months, Sam smiled. On the other side of the base, Dr. Marsh was having the same thought. Was a physicist. He had worked at CERN before the invasion, studying the secrets of the universe. When they attacked, he had barely escaped with his life. He had lost his wife and daughter in the destruction of Chicago. Now he had only one reason to live. Revenge. He stood in a small laboratory filled with pieces of alien technology. His assistant, Amy, was working beside him. Amy was an engineer. She was young, only 26, but she was brilliant. She could take apart any machine and understand how it worked. "Look at this," Amy said, holding up a small device. "This is their communication module. It sends and receives signals on a frequency we have never seen before." "Examine the device. Can we block it?" "Block it? No, their technology is too advanced," Amy grinned. "But I think we can overload it." She explained her idea. If they could build a device that broadcast the right signal at the right frequency, they could fry every implant on the planet. The soldiers would lose their connection to each other. They would be blind and deaf and alone. Felt his heart beating faster. How long would the effect last? A few minutes, maybe 10, maybe less. That is not very long. No, Amy agreed, but it might be long enough. Put his hand on her shoulder. Build it as fast as you can. While the scientists worked, the fighters trained. Cole had been a pilot before the invasion. He had flown cargo ships between Earth and Mars. It was boring work, but it paid well. Now he flew a stolen fighter, and every mission might be his last. He had found 11 other pilots who had survived the invasion. Together, they called themselves the Ghost Squadron. They hid their ships in caves during the day and attacked at night. Their targets were supply lines. The aliens needed food and fuel and ammunition just like any army. When those supplies stopped arriving, the occupation forces grew weaker. Tonight was leading a raid on a convoy, moving through the Nevada desert. "There they are," said his wingman, a woman named Lisa Park. 6 transport ships, 2 escort fighters. "We take out the escorts first," said. "Then we hit the transports, in and out, no heroics." The Ghost Squadron dove out of the clouds. Their weapons lit up the night sky. The first escort fighter exploded before its pilot knew what was happening. The second tried to turn and fight, but Lisa was too fast. She blew it apart with a single shot. The transport ships tried to run. They did not get far. 5 minutes later, 6 burning wrecks were scattered across the desert, and his squadron disappeared into the darkness. Back at base, General Dalton received the news. Another successful raid, another blow against the enemy. It was not much, but it was something. Then he received different news. Captain Finch ran into the command center. Her face was pale. "They are killing prisoners," she said. "Has ordered mass executions. Every time we attack, they kill 100 humans." Sam closed his eyes. He had known this would happen. Every war had costs. Every victory came with a price. "How many so far?" 2,000, maybe more. The room was silent. Some of the soldiers looked angry, others looked sick. A few looked like they wanted to give up. Sam opened his eyes and looked at them. "This is what they want," he said. "They want us to stop fighting. They want us to feel guilty. They want us to surrender." He walked to the center of the room. "But if we stop fighting, they win. And if they win, they will kill everyone anyway. Every man, every woman, every child. They did not come here to make peace. They came here to destroy us." He pointed to the map on the wall. "Every person we lose is a tragedy, but every person who dies fighting gives the rest of us a chance to live. That is the only choice we have. Fight and maybe die, or surrender and definitely die." He looked at each soldier in turn. "I choose to fight. Who is with me?" Every hand in the room went up. Sam nodded. "Good, now let us get back to work." In a bunker beneath the Swiss Alps, the remaining leaders of the world were meeting in secret. They argued for hours. They debated strategies and resources and risks. Finally, they agreed on a plan. They called it Operation Prometheus Rising. The name came from an old myth. Prometheus was a god who stole fire from heaven and gave it to humanity. He was punished for his crime, but his gift allowed humans to build civilization. Now humanity would steal fire again, not from the gods but from the plan was simple. Every resistance cell on the planet would attack at the same time. They would use every weapon they had. They would strike every target they could reach. And while they were busy fighting on the ground, a small team would sneak onto the mothership and deliver the weapon that and Amy were building. It was a desperate plan. It would probably fail. Most of the fighters would probably die. But it was the only chance they had. General Dalton looked at the orders on his screen. The attack was scheduled for 1 month from now. 30 days to prepare. 30 days to gather weapons and train soldiers and pray for a miracle. He thought about his daughter. She had died in the first attack, along with his wife and his parents and everyone he had ever loved. He thought about all the families that had been destroyed, all the children who would never grow up, all the dreams that had been burned to ash. The thought they had broken humanity. They were about to find out how wrong they were. 1 year had passed since they came to Earth. 1 year of death, 1 year of slavery, 1 year of hiding in the dark. But in that darkness, humanity had been building something. Dr. Marsh stood before a crowd of resistance leaders in the main hall of the underground base. Behind him was a machine. It was not very big, just a metal box covered with wires and circuits, but everyone in the room knew what it could do. "We call it the resonance pulse," said. "When we activate it, it will send a signal across the entire planet. Every soldier with a neural implant will be affected. Their connection to the command network will be broken. They will be deaf, blind, and confused." General Sam Dalton stepped forward. "How long will the effect last?" "Between 5 and 15 minutes. We cannot know for sure until we test it." "And what happens after that?" Looked at the machine. "After that, they will adapt. They will find a way to block our signal. We will only get one chance to use this weapon." The room was quiet. Everyone understood what that meant. They had to make those few minutes count. If they failed, there would be no second try. Captain Laura Finch spoke next. "We have another problem. The resonance pulse needs to be activated from close to the mothership. The signal is not strong enough to reach orbit from the ground." "How close?" Sam asked. "Inside the mothership, or very near it." Someone laughed bitterly. "So we have to deliver the weapon directly to the enemy. Perfect." Sam ignored the comment. "Who is going to fly the mission?" A woman stood up from the back of the room. She was tall and lean, with black hair and steady eyes. Her name was Cross. Before the invasion, she had been a test pilot for the Earth Defense Fleet. She had set speed records that still stood. She had survived crashes that should have killed her. "I will go," she said. "I have studied their ships. I know how they fly. I can get a shuttle through their defenses." Sam studied her face. "You know this is probably a one-way trip." "I know. And you still want to go." Thought about her brother. He had been on the moon when they attacked. She had listened to his last message on a broken radio. He had told her he loved her. Then the signal had gone dead. "I have nothing left to lose," she said, "and everything to gain." 2 more volunteers stepped forward. Danny Shaw was a demolitions expert. He had spent 10 years blowing up asteroids for mining companies. He knew how to make things explode. Vance was an infiltration specialist. She could hack any computer and pick any lock. Together, they would help complete the mission. The strike team was complete. But there was still a problem. Captain Finch called another meeting the next day. Her face was grim. "I intercepted a transmission this morning," she said. "Has requested reinforcements from the Dominion. A second fleet is on its way." The room erupted in shouting. Sam raised his hand for silence. "When will they arrive?" 72 hours, maybe less." 3 days. They had 3 days to prepare an attack that they had planned to launch in a month. 3 days to coordinate 50,000 fighters across 6 continents. 3 days to save the human race. "Can we do it?" Sam asked. Laura hesitated. "It will be difficult. Many things can go wrong." "That is not what I asked. Can we do it?" Laura took a deep breath. "Yes, we can do it, but we need to move now." The next 72 hours were a blur of activity. Messages went out to every resistance cell. Weapons were gathered. Plans were made. Soldiers said goodbye to their families, knowing they might never see them again. In the laboratory, Amy worked without sleep. They made final adjustments to the resonance pulse. They tested it again and again. They prayed it would work when it mattered. Cole prepared his Ghost Squadron for the biggest battle of their lives. They would provide air cover for the ground assault. They would keep the fighters busy while flew to the mothership. "This is it," told his pilots. "Everything we have done has led to this moment. Win or lose, live or die, we fight together." Cross sat alone in her room looking at a photograph. It showed her and her brother standing on a beach, smiling at the camera. They had been happy then. They had not known what was coming. "I am going to make them pay," she whispered. "For you, for everyone." There was a knock at her door. Danny Shaw and Vance entered. "You ready?" Danny asked. Put the photograph in her pocket and stood up. "Let us go kill some aliens." On the last night before the attack, something unexpected happened. A broadcast appeared on every hidden frequency. It was weak and broken, like it had traveled a very long way, but the voice was unmistakable. Admiral Ben Torres, he was alive. "People of Earth," he said, "I know you thought I was dead, the thought so too, they were wrong." The survivors gathered around their radios and listened. "For the past year I have been building something, a fleet. It is not big, it is not pretty, it is made of stolen ships and salvaged parts, but it is ours, and tomorrow it will fight." Cheers erupted in bunkers across the planet. "The enemy believes we are broken. They believe we will bow down and accept our fate, but they do not know us. They do not know what we have survived. They do not know what we are capable of." Torres paused. When he spoke again, his voice was hard as iron. "They came to our world without warning. They burned our cities without mercy. They killed our people without reason, and now they expect us to surrender." He laughed. It was not a happy sound. "Tomorrow, we show them what happens when you attack humanity. Tomorrow, we remind the galaxy why our ancestors conquered every corner of this planet. Tomorrow, we teach the lesson they will never forget." His voice rose. "They think they are the predators and we are the prey. They are wrong. We are the hunters. We have always been the hunters, and tomorrow we hunt." The broadcast ended. In the command center, General Dalton stood before his soldiers. They were ready. They were armed. They were angry. "You heard the Admiral," he said. "Tomorrow everything changes. Tomorrow we take back our world." He raised his fist. "For Earth." The soldiers raised their fists in return. "For Earth." Cross climbed into her shuttle. The resonance pulse was secured in the cargo hold. Danny and took their positions beside her. The hangar doors opened, revealing the night sky. Somewhere up there, the mothership was waiting. High Commander was probably sleeping, dreaming of his easy conquest. He had no idea what was coming. Started the engines. "All units, this is Strike Team Alpha," she said into her radio. "We are launching." The shuttle rose into the air and disappeared into the clouds. The final battle had begun. All across the world, resistance fighters checked their weapons one last time. They looked at each other. They nodded. They moved out. Dawn was coming, and with it the fury of humanity. The sun rose over 6 continents at different times, but on this day, every sunrise brought the same thing: war. In Europe, 3,000 fighters stormed a command center in what used to be Berlin. They came from the sewers and the subway tunnels and the ruined buildings. They came with guns and grenades and knives. They came screaming. They were not ready. They had grown comfortable in their victory. They had stopped watching for attacks. Now they paid for that mistake. In Asia, resistance cells hit 12 targets at exactly the same moment. Power stations, communication towers, fuel depots. The explosions lit up the night sky from Tokyo to Mumbai. In Africa, guerrilla fighters ambushed a convoy carrying officers. There were no survivors. In South America, 1,000 soldiers attacked the alien base in the Amazon. The fighting lasted for 3 hours. When it ended, the base was burning and the human flag was flying over the ruins. In North America, General Sam Dalton led the assault himself. "Push forward," he shouted over the noise of battle. "Do not stop, do not look back, push forward." His soldiers obeyed. They ran through the streets of what used to be Denver, firing at every alien they saw. Soldiers fell by the dozens, but more kept coming. The aliens were fighting back. Their weapons cut through the human ranks. Bodies fell everywhere. The ground was slippery with blood. But the humans did not stop. They could not stop. They had been waiting for this moment for a year. All the pain, all the loss, all the rage, it all came out now. Captain Laura Finch was at Dalton's side, shouting orders into her radio. "Team 7, flank left. Team 12, hold that intersection. Where is your air support?" Cole's voice crackled through the speaker, "Coming in now." The Ghost Squadron roared over the city. Their weapons ripped through the air defenses. Alien fighters tried to intercept them, but Lisa Park and her wingmen shot them down one by one. "That is for my family," Lisa screamed as another enemy ship exploded. The battle was fierce. The battle was bloody. But for the first time since the invasion, humanity was winning. High above the Earth, Cross was fighting her own battle. The mothership was enormous. It hung in orbit like a dark moon, bristling with weapons and sensors. Getting close to it should have been impossible. Made it look easy. She flew her shuttle through the debris field that surrounded the ship. She dodged patrol craft and sensor beams. She found a gap in the defenses that the aliens had overlooked. "I see the hull," she said into her radio. "Approaching the maintenance hatch. Danny, get ready." Danny Shaw was already moving. He grabbed a cutting tool and opened the shuttle's airlock. The hatch was 30 feet away. He jumped. For a moment, he floated in the silence of space. The stars spun around him. Then his magnetic boots locked onto the hull and he went to work. 3 minutes later, they were inside. The interior of the mothership was a maze of corridors and chambers. Soldiers patrolled everywhere. Vance took the lead, guiding them through the shadows. "Left here," she whispered. "There are 2 guards ahead, wait." She moved like a ghost. The guards never saw her coming. 2 quick strikes and they were down. "Clear," she said, "move." They ran through the corridors, following the map that Laura had downloaded from captured computers. The command center was at the heart of the ship. That was where they needed to go. They encountered more guards. Danny handled them with brutal efficiency. He was not a subtle man. He preferred explosions, but he could fight hand to hand when he had to. "How much farther?" asked. Checked her device. 200 meters, but there is a problem. "What kind of problem?" "The main corridor is blocked by a security checkpoint. 50 soldiers. No way around." Danny grinned. I have been saving something for this. He pulled a device from his pack. It was small and round and covered with red lights. Is that what I think it is? Asked. Plasma charge, military grade. I stole it from an armory last month. Will it work? Danny's grin widened. Only one way to find out. He ran toward the checkpoint. The soldiers saw him coming. They raised their weapons. Danny threw the charge and dove for cover. The explosion was enormous. The corridor filled with fire and noise. When the smoke cleared, the checkpoint was gone. So were the soldiers. Danny did not get up. Ran to him. He was lying against the wall, his body broken by the blast. Blood was pooling around him. Danny. He looked up at her and smiled. His teeth were red. Did I get them? Felt tears in her eyes. You got them all. Good, he coughed. Blood ran down his chin. Finish the mission, make it count. His eyes closed. Wanted to stay, she wanted to mourn, but there was no time. She grabbed the resonance pulse from and ran. The command center was just ahead. She could see the doors. She could see the guards. Took care of them. Then she went to work on the computer system. I am in, she said, uploading the activation codes to Dr. Marsh. On Earth was waiting. His hands were shaking as he watched the data stream across his screen. Come on, he muttered. Come on, come on. The upload completed. Now, Amy shouted. Press the button. The resonance pulse activated. A wave of energy swept across the planet. It moved at the speed of light. It passed through walls and mountains and oceans. It touched every soldier on Earth. The effect was instant. In Denver, the aliens stopped shooting. They stood frozen, their forearms hanging limp, their eyes empty. Their neural implants had overloaded. Their connection to each other was gone. Now, General Dalton roared, hit them now. The human soldiers attacked with everything they had. The confused tried to fight back, but they were slow and clumsy. Without their network, they were nothing. The same thing happened everywhere. In Berlin and Tokyo and Cairo and Ayers, the aliens stumbled and fell. The humans showed no mercy. On the mothership, Cross stood in the command center. Officers lay unconscious around her. Only one was still standing. High Commander. He was taller than the others. His gray skin was covered with scars from 100 battles. His 4 eyes burned with hatred. You think you have won, he said. His voice was like rocks grinding together. You are insects, you are nothing, my fleet will crush you. Pulled her gun. Your fleet is busy dying, she said, and so are you. Drew a blade from his belt. It was curved and cruel, stained with old blood. He charged at her, moving faster than something that big should move. Did not run. She did not flinch. She aimed at the space between his 4 eyes and pulled the trigger. The sound of the shot echoed through the command center. Stopped, he looked down at his chest, where a hole was now smoking. Then he looked up his eyes filled with disbelief. Impossible, he whispered. We are the Dominion, we do not lose, we cannot lose. You just did, said. She fired again, and again, and again. Fell. On Earth, the army was breaking. The resonance pulse had faded, but it was too late. The humans were winning. The aliens were running. General Dalton stood in the ruins of Denver and watched his soldiers chase the enemy through the streets. He was covered in dirt and blood. He was exhausted, but he was smiling. Captain Finch ran up to him. Sir, we just got word from the mothership. Is dead. The strike team did it. Sam closed his eyes and let out a breath he had been holding for a year. Send a message to all units, he said. The war is not over yet, but today we won. In orbit, Cross looked at the body of the alien commander. She thought about Danny. She thought about her brother. She thought about everyone who had died. This is for all of them, she said quietly. Then she picked up her radio. Strike Team Alpha to Earth Command. Mission complete. The bastard is dead. The cheers that came through the radio were the most beautiful sound she had ever heard. The fleet tried to run. Without their command network, they were scattered and confused. Their ships broke formation and headed for the edge of the solar system, hopping to escape into the darkness of deep space. They did not get far. Admiral Ben Torres sat in the command chair of a captured dreadnought. The ship was ugly and patched together, held together with stolen parts and human stubbornness. But it worked, and right now it was hunting. "Contact bearing 072, his tactical officer reported. 6 enemy ships trying to reach the jump point. Torres studied the display. The enemy was running scared. Good, let them run. Let them remember this fear forever. "All ships pursue and destroy," he ordered. "No one leaves." The human fleet surged forward. It was not a big fleet. 12 ships in total, all of them stolen or salvaged. But the pilots were angry, and angry humans were dangerous. The first ship exploded under a barrage of missiles. The second tried to surrender, but Torres did not accept surrender. Not today. The third, fourth, and fifth ships died trying to fight back. The sixth ship almost escaped. It was faster than the others, and its pilot was skilled. For a moment, it looked like it would reach the jump point and disappear. Then Cole's Ghost Squadron appeared. "You are not going anywhere," said into his radio. His fighters swarmed the enemy ship. Their weapons tore through its engines, its shields, its hull. The ship came apart in a bloom of fire and debris. "That was for Danny," Lisa Park said quietly. Torres watched the last enemy ship die. He felt no satisfaction, only a grim determination. "Send a message to Earth," he said. "Tell them the orbital space is clear. The enemy is gone." But the enemy was not completely gone, not yet. 48 hours later, the reinforcement fleet arrived. It was massive, 50 ships, maybe more. They emerged from the rift near Titan, their weapons charged, their soldiers ready. They expected to find a conquered world. They expected to meet their victorious brothers and collect the spoils of war. Instead, they found Admiral Torres waiting for them. "This is Admiral Ben Torres of the United Earth Defense Fleet," his message said. "Turn around, go home. This is your only warning." The commander laughed. He was a warlord named Older and than had been. He had conquered 100 worlds. He was not afraid of one small planet. "You are bluffing," he replied. "Your ships are nothing. Your people are insects. Surrender now and I will make your deaths quick." Torres smiled. It was not a friendly smile. "I was hoping you would say that." He activated a switch on his console. All around the solar system, hidden weapons came online. They had been built in secret over the past year, hidden in asteroids and moons and debris fields. Now they revealed themselves. 200 weapons platforms, armed with the most powerful missiles humanity had ever created, pointed directly at the fleet. "As I said," Torres continued, "turn around, go home." For a long moment, nothing happened. Stared at his displays, counting the weapons aimed at his ships. He did the math. The numbers were not good. Then he did something that no warlord had ever done before. He retreated. The enemy fleet turned and headed back toward the rift. They did not speak. They did not threaten. They simply left. Torres watched them go. He knew this was not the end. The Dominion would return someday with a bigger fleet and a better plan. The war was far from over. But today, humanity had won. On Earth, the survivors emerged from their hiding places. They crawled out of bunkers and caves and ruined buildings. They stood in the sunlight and looked at the sky. The alien ships were gone. The occupation was over. General Sam Dalton walked through the streets of Denver. The city was ruined. Half the buildings were collapsed. The streets were filled with rubble and bodies. It would take years to rebuild. But it would be rebuilt. That was what humans did. They fell down and they got back up. They lost everything and they started again. They faced impossible odds and they found a way. Captain Laura Finch walked beside him. She looked tired. They all looked tired. "What happens now?" she asked. Sam thought about the question. It was a good question. The war was over, but the work was just beginning. There were bodies to bury, cities to rebuild, a planet to heal. "Now we rest," he said, "for a little while, and then we get to work." 1 week later, the United Nations Assembly met for the first time since the invasion. The meeting was held in a bunker beneath the Swiss Alps. The leaders who had survived gathered around a long table. They were tired, but they were alive. General Dalton stood before them. Beside him were the heroes of the resistance: Captain Laura Finch, Dr. Marsh, Amy, Cole, Lisa Park, and Cross, who had been rescued from the mothership after killing. "1 year ago," Dalton began, "we were attacked without warning. Our cities were burned. Our people were killed. Everything we had built was destroyed." He paused, looking at each face in the room. "Today we are free, not because we were stronger than the enemy, not because we had better weapons, but because we refused to give up, because we fought when fighting seemed hopeless, because we believed that humanity was worth saving." He straightened his back. "The thought we were weak. They thought we would bow down and accept their rule. They did not understand what they were dealing with." His voice rose. "We are not weak. We are survivors. We have survived ice ages and plagues. We have survived wars and disasters. We have survived everything this universe has thrown at us. And we will survive this too." The assembly rose in applause. "But we must not forget what happened here," Dalton continued. "We must not become comfortable. The will return. Maybe not today, maybe not tomorrow, but someday they will come back, and we must be ready." He pointed upward toward the stars. "Up there somewhere is the home of the Dominion. They have conquered hundreds of worlds. They have enslaved millions of beings. And now they know that Earth is not an easy target." He smiled grimly. "They are afraid of us. For the first time in their history they are afraid, and that fear will spread. Other species will hear what happened here. They will learn that the Dominion can be defeated. They will learn that there is a world called Earth, and the creatures who live there do not surrender." In orbit, construction had already begun. The shipyards were working around the clock, building new vessels with reverse-engineered alien technology. These ships would be faster and stronger than anything humanity had made before. They would carry weapons that could crack planets. They would be crewed by soldiers who had learned to fight without fear. Admiral Torres supervised the construction personally. He walked through the shipyards, checking every detail, demanding perfection. "How long until the fleet is ready?" he asked his chief engineer. 3 years, maybe 2 if we push hard." Torres nodded. "Push hard." Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. People rebuilt their homes. Children went back to school. Farmers planted crops in fields that had been. But things had changed. Humanity was no longer alone in the universe, and humanity was no longer peaceful. Every child learned the story of the invasion. Every school taught the names of the heroes who had saved them. Every city built monuments to the dead. And somewhere in the stars, the Dominion received intelligence reports about the planet called Earth. They read about the battle. They read about their losses. They read about the fury that humanity had unleashed. For the first time in 10,000 years, they felt something unfamiliar. Fear. 5 years later, Captain Cross stood on the bridge of a ship called Defiance. It was the first vessel of the new Earth fleet, built from the lessons of the invasion. "Set course for the system," she ordered. "We have reports of slave colonies there." Her crew obeyed. The ship's engines hummed to life. Stars stretched into lines as they jumped to faster-than-light speed. Looked at the photograph in her pocket. Her brother smiled up at her. "We are coming for them," she whispered. "All of them." Humanity was no longer hiding. They were no longer waiting. They were hunting. And across the galaxy, whispers spread about the small blue world that had refused to die. The world that had been attacked without mercy and had struck back with a fury beyond imagination. They had woken a sleeping giant. Now that giant was coming for them. And it was angry.